this phone,
Oh, yeah, you can.
right? You cannot miss this phone. So how is it that it's sitting here available for usage and an instructor is not, telling them to put it away or
Well,
whatnot?
it's supposed to be put away, at least in my experience.
Yeah,
The phones
it's
are
supposed
not
to be put
supposed to
away.
be out, but they sneak them out.
Right.
And
You only have
just
to
like
have
they
the top
sneak
little
out the
bit of the
little
camera
cheating
out.
sheets and, yeah. So they're not supposed to be out during the test.
Sticking out of
They
their
don't
back
use them.
pocket when it's stuck in their back pocket, and they're walking down through the classroom.
I guess
I'm
they're,
just-
I guess they're a lot more creative than I ever was at that age.
That's a,
So,
well, there's,
I remember it was just a little piece of paper, or maybe right on the back of your hand. So that's why I'm having a difficulty seeing this extremely large device being seen or not being seen. I guess that's the
It's
issue
like
that I'm
you
having.
click record, put it in your pocket, and just pull it out just a little teeny
yeah,
bit. and-
just sticking out, just all you need is a camera piece out.
I mean, it does need to be addressed by
Right.
the district, because
Right.
I'm telling you, it's a huge problem at every high school,
Well, that's-
and more.
That's why we're wanting to beef up this policy.
But I'm not sure this is really addressing it. I mean, as long as that kid has that phone on them. So it might be something where you walk in the room, here's a basket, throw your phone in.
Yeah, for the time
You
period
know,
of the exam.
Let me tell you what I just had to go through for my little exam, okay? I told a couple of you. Okay, this is how serious they were, okay? I had to get fingerprinted 6 times, okay? They had me take everything out of my pocket, show them the empty pockets. They wanted me, okay? I had to roll up all my sleeves. I mean, that's serious. So if we're gonna be serious, I hate to say this, but those cell phones need to go during exams. Because it's a huge problem. I hear about it from a lot of people.
All right, well, I
So
think yeah.
I'm just saying, if we're gonna put it in policy, who cares?
But that's the
If it's in policy.
extension, but that's what Beth was saying.
Right,
The
and now
next
it has
step
to
is
be
writing
transferred to
procedures.
I understand
And-
it, but we need to, I mean, guys, if we're serious, if we're gonna go to this trouble to put it in policy, then honestly, it needs to be in procedure, and it needs to be pretty strict. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just not called for, it's not right.
So maybe if we could generalize that sentence to cover a little bit more and maybe acknowledge some of the things that we know are going on pretty rampantly. And I think you're right. We have to cover that in procedures, and it's also a classroom management issue, which is, an important teaching skill. I'm sure you're working on your classroom management. It's the
Close that
number one skill,
opportunity gap.
absolutely. Okay. Anything else on EIA local? Moving on then, EIA-B, which is for deletion, right?
Correct.
Okay. Next is, any question on this? EKB, just stop me if I'm going too fast.
I just have a question on EIAB. So what, is it being replaced, or is it just open-ended, up to the teacher?
The EIAB.
Makeup assignments.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, EIAB.
Yes, sir. It's covered specifically through the grading, administrative regulations and grading that are quite extensive.
Okay.
And in fact, in review, just to kind of give you a note about the regulation review, we found some inconsistent wording and had some feedback from board members about that. So we're fine tuning that to cover particularly the makeup work and make sure there's consistency at all 3 levels.
Okay, thanks.
So just to follow up on Mr. Rosenthal's question, so how do the students know what rights they have, if you will, about their makeup work? And how, because this sort of spells out, that they're right, kind of their responsibility and a little bit of the teacher's responsibility. How do we cover for that?
It's covered in the student code of conduct and the student handbook. There should be reference to it there, and we'll verify that it is there and provide a response.
Okay,
confirm
I
that.
would like to find out where it is in there, because
Okay.
I think it's important that the students take responsibility for their makeup work and that it's clear to them what is expected. So we want them to take responsibility. The expectations have to be clear. Yes, Ms. Hellinger.
also not only just the makeup work, but what kind of grade that they should be expected from that. So if some schools might give 70%, some might give 80%, what does that look like? Is that laid out in the student's handbook?
Or in the regulations?
I know it's in regulations. Ms. Carabine, can you speak to that in the student handbook, or is that something we need to confirm placement?
And are there excused absences for that type of makeup work?
We just worked on this last week, and I'm going to let Ms. Carabine address that.
Sorry, I didn't join the table. Yes, this is in our regulations, and we did just meet with the principals at every level to discuss this because it's inconsistent. And we also brought it to the Academic Advisory Council, and we vetted it with our teachers. And there are also parents on that committee, and we did all concur that it is inconsistent and it's sometimes not fair, because you see sometimes different practices at different schools and even within the same building, and sometimes within the grade level and even among the content. So we're working to streamline that with the input. I believe your executive assistant's typing it as we speak to so that we can get it to be clean in our regulations, and then also reference it in our student handbook. And it needs to be clearly communicated and with our teaching staff and our parents and our student community as well.
Okay, good, thank you. We'll look forward to hearing back about that. Next is EKB. And I asked about this one, if it was referenced in the regulations, but I don't remember the answer.
This one is outdated, and the provision that governs state assessment is found in EKB legal. So everything that we need to follow is within EKB legal with regard to state assessment.
Okay. All right, and then the next section, okay, so then that was all the specific ones that we're gonna vote on this time. And then we listed here so we could discuss if there's anything else in the binder from December that we wanted to add in. And Mrs. Hassan referred to something already that I had thought of in terms of maybe writing a local policy. Many of these policies in here, there's a whole series of the legal policies on special ed, and I wondered if it might be good to write a kind of a philosophy about our special ed programs. We've had a lot of discussion in here about that, and special ed not being a place, and special, least restrictive environment, and some of these things. Mrs. Tozan, you could probably speak to it a little bit better, but it occurred to me that maybe that was an area where we could kind of write a philosophy statement. The other area the other section that I thought maybe needed a philosophy statement was in the testing. There's a whole series of legal policies on testing, and I think we could maybe write a philosophy statement on that.
Okay.
So, could we put that on the to-do list? I
We
don't know
will.
where it fits in exactly, but,
We will put it on the to-do list and take it back to the work group, and then bring you all a recommendation.
okay,
review.
that would be great. That would be great. I had a couple other, before you close your binder, Dr. Dupree, I had a couple other thoughts, which I will also maybe send to the work group. One was a little bit of some language revision in EG. And just because there were some phrases that I didn't fully know what they meant, and when I asked around, nobody else seemed to really know what they meant either, or at least I didn't hear back. So I would there were some phrases on direction of action and other things like meeting challenging needs, that I wasn't quite sure what that meant. And then another thing I felt needed to be added, in page 5 of that policy was creating, for the campus level administrators to create an environment on their campus which is conducive to teaching and learning. So maybe I can send those, I'm not getting a lot of interest from my teammates here, so maybe I'll just send that all in, and we can. I know, thank you, okay, awesome. I have a couple other things too, but I'll just send them in, and we'll bring them back next time. Okay, I know when to stop. Okay, that's just because I have a lot of pink sticky notes in my binder. We're doing comprehensive policy review, right? Okay. I'm taking it seriously, that's all I just want you to know. All right, then let's move on. Thank you, Mrs. Martinez, and thank you to the legal department for all your help with that. We appreciate that.
Thank you all.
And I know there's a lot of other people in this room that are working on it too, so thank you to all of you who are on that team. Item B is proposed new positions for 2016-17 fiscal year. Do you have some comments, Mr. Bassett, to kick us off on that conversation?
Yes, this is our initial pass at staffing. This is the positions that we need for Sullivan Elementary and then also for career and tech. The reason why these are being brought now as opposed to the rest of the staffing that will be brought later this month for approval in March is we're trying to get the jump on the CTE positions, try to get them posted so we can recruit them as quickly as possible.
All right. Do we have any questions on this, Mr. Rosenthal?
Yeah, can you just explain what CT positions that we're hiring for?
Let's see, is Meredith here? She's. I'm sorry?
Ms. Watasek is over
here.
there.
Okay.
Come on up to
Oh,
the
I guess
microphone.
I see them. Okay, they are listed here.
Okay, they're listed there at the bottom.
Yeah, never mind.
And there's 4 Project Lead the Way, 3 Health Sciences, etc.
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Does
I
anybody
just
else-
thought you needed some exercise, Meredith.
Good, it's time to stand up and stretch. Mrs. Tossan has a question.
So I just wanted to make a comment since you're bringing staffing changes. And I know we're gonna have the special ed update next week. So of course, my questions are around special ed staffing. I know that doesn't come to us for approval, but as last year, I'd like to request a list of what the schools are requesting for special ed staff and what staffing changes we're gonna be making in that area. I think you guys sent me that last year, so just the same format would be great. Thank you.
Excellent. I also wondered, when I looked at this list, why if we were having, I don't know the numbers, but one assistant principal is gonna be enough, one counselor is gonna be enough. I know this campus is meant to be a little bit bigger than, and I don't know what our numbers look like, but I just observed that. Not that I want to spend more money, but I also don't want to have overwhelmed staff at a brand-new school.
Okay.
Does anybody have any comments on that or any knowledge?
I mean, this is within our current staffing guidelines, but I mean, we'll take a look at those numbers.
So we think.
Mr. George, could you please turn your microphone on?
So you think one AP is sufficient for 1,200 students?
We'll take a look at the staffing guidelines again and compare it. I mean, we knew for sure we were gonna need these.
Okay, this is subject to change.
I mean,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on this? All right, then moving on to item C. Thank you, Mr. Bassett, and everyone everyone for being here for that one. Proposed partnership agreements between Fort Bend ISD and colleges or teacher certification programs. Any questions on this?
Great idea.
Absolutely. Is this a,
Guess what I've been doing.
is this a complete list of all the schools that we partner with?
Yes, currently.
So we don't do any Texas A&M or University of Texas?
What was interesting, with one of the, Texas A&M reached out to us, and this kind of started this process here, because they were trying to get something done before time, and we didn't have a process to do it, so this is our way to kind of address it until we come up with a formal policy that we can draft and have you guys review, or have the board review.
So we have a separate agreement with Texas A&M, or we don't have one?
We don't have one just yet.
So even though they approached us, we didn't work it out with them yet?
We
Or
can't, based on,
go ahead.
Texas A&M was the impetus for this action item. We want to do business with them. We don't have a current agreement with them. So rather than come to you with a singleton Texas A&M only, we knew all of these current partners are probably going to expire soon as well. So we need to get engaged for next school year. So that's why we're asking in this one item to delegate authority to approve all of these and new agreements such as the Texas A&M agreement for the 16-17 school year.
Okay. So we're not limiting your agreement negotiations to just these schools?
Correct.
It says include.
Got it.
But the intent is as soon as you consider that policy, or we start the new school year, then that delegation would end, and we would, but we're assuming the policy is going to come to the board later this spring.
Okay.
So that'll get codified and we'll move forward in that way.
All right. Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions on this one? All right, moving on then to cell tower lease. Do we have any questions on this? All right, moving on to donations. Cash donations in excess of $10,000 we have from the Colony Bend PTO. Okay, questions? Keep going. Next, we're on to purchases. First one is Oracle. Great job figuring out 15 modules we could eliminate and not pay the service for. That's that was well done, gentlemen. Anybody have any questions on this one? All right, moving on then to radio equipment, services, and related items. Any questions on this? So the equipment and the servicing of it, or the equipment and the installation is all in one procurement. Is that what I understood? Mr. Zachary or Mr. Cleaver?
Yes, ma'am. We had a long-time employee that was, that retired last year, and so it's now a service contract in addition to the parts for that particular. The police radios, they have a separate contract with Motorola because it's a different kind of radio.
Okay, so there's three things here. There's the equipment there's the installation of the equipment, and then there's this kind of a general service,
Yes, ma'am.
which is about the sentence in there about the person's retirement.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Any questions on this? All right, next is voice services. Any questions on this? Okay. Next is primary enterprise internet service. So we have primary internet service and then secondary internet service. Mr. George?
So what's the difference? Why primary and secondary?
So right now, we currently have internet services with Windstream, and we rebid the package out due to the fact that the contract was expiring this June of 2016. And the primary service is to provide the internet service. The secondary is for us to have a secondary backup internet in case the primary going. As we move more and more toward cloud computing, we need a secondary internet provider, so that way we can guarantee to be on most all of the time.
So you like to use two different providers?
Yes, sir, to make sure that we don't put both of our eggs in the same basket.
Sure, okay. Well, simply makes sense. Thank you.
All right, any other questions on that? So next is wide area network fiber services short-term and wide area fiber services long-term. I'm consolidating, is that what you're praising me? Could you say that into your microphone? No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. All right, do we have any?
Sorry.
Do we have any questions on this one, on these two? Short-term and then the long-term? Okay. So next is wide area network hub to data center services. Any questions? Why are you, just doing my job. Next is wide area network equipment and services. And then there's a local area network equipment and services. I'm becoming fluent in wide area WAN and LAN. Is it? Do we have any questions on these? And I will say thank you very much for the memos you've written and the explanations you've written, because
You're good.
it helps us, gives us all the background and helps us understand all of this, which is why we don't have questions, or we've sent them in ahead and gotten the answers already. All right, I think that is that. Next, we have fencing. Thank you, Jojo. Next, we have fencing. Do we have any questions on the fencing? Going to be doing more fencing, are we?